We'll begin today by looking at dividing a polynomial by a monomial. We'll start by looking at dividing 15x squared minus 12x plus 6 by 3. Really what we do there is divide each of the terms by 3. And so we just then evaluate what that division gives us. So we'll get a 5x squared minus 4x plus 2 for that one. The second one we have, we'll divide each of those terms by 5m squared. So we'll do our 5m cubed over 5m squared, and again just continue dividing each term by the 5m squared. And then reducing those down so the 5's cancel out, we're left with a plain m there. The m squareds cancel out, so we just have 9/5 here. It's m divided by 5 would be 2, and then the m ends up in the denominator. For the third one, dividing each of those pieces by x squared, y squared. So in that first piece, of course, the 8 stays. The y squareds cancel out. We are left with an x at the bottom there. Minus, and again the 9 will stay. The x squareds cancel out, but we have a y in the denominator. And then the last one, the x's and the y's all cancel. We're just left with 6. When doing a polynomial divided by a polynomial, the process is similar to what we do when we do a regular long division. We really go through 3 steps. We start with dividing the first term of our dividend, that being the 2m squared plus m minus 10. So divide that by the first term of the divisor, m, and we get 2m. That's really the first part of our quotient, so we keep track of that on top. I also need to find the product. I need to find the 2m multiplied by the m minus 2, again similar to my regular long division process. It gives me 2m squared minus 4m. Now I do subtract that from my dividend, so I'll subtract that here. I like to right away switch my sign, so I'll be subtracting 2m squared and really adding 4m. Again, by doing that I feel like avoids any unclarity. I can see exactly what I'm doing here. Subtracting the 2m squareds cancel. m plus 4m gives me 5m. We don't have anything to combine with the minus 10, so that just comes down. Now what I have left of my dividend, the 5m minus 10, that's the same degree as my divisor, so I can go through my process one more time. Start by dividing 5m by m, it just gives me 5, so there's the last part of my quotient. Then I need to find the product of 5 times the m minus 2, so it gives me 5m minus 10. Again, I'll switch my signs because I'm really subtracting, so I'll really subtract the 5m and add the 10. Now in this case they both cancel out, so we end up with a remainder of 0. So the answer, in this case being 2m plus 5, is the result of the 2m squared plus m minus 10 divided by m minus 2. In this case, the polynomial has a missing term. Notice my 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5 does not have an x squared term. So I want that x squared there so I can line my like terms up in their columns so that I have a column for my x squared term. If I just bunch this all together, I won't have room for my x squareds. Other than that, my process does not change. I begin by dividing my first term of my dividend, 3x cubed, by the first term of my divisor, x. I get 3x squared. So that's the first part of my quotient. And again, notice I already need the x squared column. Then I multiply that 3x squared by my divisor, x minus 3. And so I figure out that product is 3x cubed minus 9x squared. So I subtract that. So switching the sign, subtract the 3x cubed, really add the 9x squared. Again, notice I need that x squared column. The x cubes cancel out. 9x squared, because adding it to 0, the minus 2x, the plus 5 just come down. Again, the 9x squared is higher degree than my divisor, so I can continue my process. I'll divide the 9x squared by the first term of my divisor x. I get 9x. So I'm adding 9x there. I need to find that product, 9x times x minus 3. So I get 9x squared minus 27x. And again, I switch the signs, so I'll subtract the 9x squared, add the 27x. So again, the 9x squared cancel out just like we wanted it to. We get 25x plus 5 as the result. Again, at this point, 25x plus 5, what's left of my dividend is the same degree as my divisor, so I'll be able to go through my process one more time. Start by dividing the 25x by x, so I get 25, and again we divide by x because that's the first term of my divisor. Multiply the 25 by x minus 3, so I get 25x minus 75. That's what I'm subtracting, so I switch the signs, so subtract the 25x, add the 75, we end up with 80. So in this case, the 80 being a smaller degree than my divisor, I can't continue, so the 80 is just my remainder in this case. So the way that we want to write that is we say we have our quotient, 3x squared plus 9x plus 25. We don't just say a remainder of 80, we actually say plus 80 over the divisor, which was x minus 3. And so that's how we actually write that out for that one. In this case, the dividend doesn't have any missing degrees. Notice it's fourth, third, second, first, constant. But it's our divisor, the 3r squared minus 2. There's an r squared and a constant, but no r term in between. I don't space that out over here because my columns are going to be over here. I just need to be aware that I'll get a gap between these two terms. So we'll start just like we always do, divide the first term of the dividend, 6r to the fourth, by the first term of the divisor, 3r squared. It gives me 2r squared, so that's the first term of my quotient. So then I need to find my product, 2r squared times 3r squared minus 2. So I get 6r to the fourth minus 4r squared. So notice I don't have an r cubed term there. So I switch my signs, subtract the 6r to the fourth, add the 4r squared. The 6r to the fourths cancel out. I get the 9r cubed to drop. I get plus 6r squared minus 8r plus 7. We continue our process because the 9r cubed is a higher degree than the 3r squared. So we divide by that 3r squared, we get 3r. That's the next part of our quotient. Let's see, find some room here. So 3r multiplying the 3r squared minus 2, I get 9r cubed minus 6r. So subtracting the 9r cubed, again notice we're going to really add the 6r here. So I'm left with 6r squared minus 2r plus 7. Again, the 6r squared, same degree as my divisor, so this will be my last time through my process. Start by dividing the 6r squared by 3r squared, we get 2. That's a plus 2 there. Oops, oh sorry, that was my r. Didn't realize I was covering that up, so let me just do this. I'm going to sneak that r back in there. So 2r squared plus 3r plus 2 is what we have so far, and we'll see what our remainder turns out to be. I need to multiply the 2 by 3r squared minus 2. I get 6r squared minus 4. So I'm subtracting those. So subtracting the 6r squared, add the 4. So I get a negative 2r plus 11. So there's my remainder. And let's look at how we would write that out. So we would have a 2r squared plus 3r plus 2 plus the remainder, negative 2r plus 11 over the divisor, 3r squared minus 2. And that's it for polynomial long division. Hopefully that helped.